If you want all of your data in one place, you need the Intuit ERP. I'm Damon John, and I run my growing business on Intuit Enterprise Suite. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
Started in 1987, Atlanta, Georgia's DragonCon is the largest multimedia popular culture convention focused on science fiction and fantasy, gaming, comics, literature, art, music, and film in the universe. At least, that's according to their official website. They go on to describe the convention, saying, "Call us a phenomenon. Call us one of the most well-attended pop culture conventions in the country. Call us the most fan fun you can have in 5 days. DragonCon is where you want to be on Labor Day weekend." And you know, I can't really disagree. I was first invited to join DragonCon for their Science Track in 2023. Unfortunately, due to a major health incident in my family, I wasn't able to attend. Thankfully, the team was happy to have me join the following year, and I've been a panelist and attendee ever since. DragonCon, also sometimes called DCon, is unique in that their programming is centered around different topics called tracks. Each track has an organizer and a team of volunteers who recruit potential panelists and organize the topics for each year's con. From the anime track to the X track, yeah, like X-Files, DragonCon maintains a wide array of topics and themes that draw crowds from across the US. For today's episode, I sat down with Science Track Director Matt Jarrett and the Science Track Second in Command, Vaughn James, to get the inside scoop on what it takes to organize this community of science nerds each year.
So my name is Matthew Jarrett, and I am the director of the Science Track at DragonCon. I took over last year, and this is my second year.
My name is Vaughn James, and I am the assistant director for the Science Track at DragonCon. I have been the assistant director for 10 years now, something like that. Yeah.
Wow. And then wait, how long have you both been attending DragonCon, even as attendees, maybe not even on the Science Track?
My first year of attending DragonCon was 2013. And I think I started volunteering in 2017.
So the first year that I ever went to DragonCon was, I think 2010 or so. But then I started volunteering for the Science Track in 2013.
That's crazy. I was like, oh, I've gone for a few years. That's like over a decade.
You know, it gets its claws in and then you just can't tear them out.
Well, what inspired both of you to decide to start actually volunteering? Because it's very different to be just a straightforward attendee and get to build your own schedule versus be someone who's frankly running a lot of the show.
Well, for me, I understand how much effort it takes to run a show. I have been, I'm a very detail-oriented person, and I like observing, I like watching, and I like figuring out how things work. And when you go to a show, you see just how much effort it takes to put on a show. If you really pay attention, and then you have to also know that you're not even seeing half the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in advance. So I have a strong sympathy for folks who are trying to put on something so large and complex that, we coordinate. I know this more intimately now. We coordinate over 100 highly educated, very busy professionals who have degrees all the way up to PhDs and beyond that I'm not even aware of, I'm sure. And it's a really complicated thing to coordinate that many people who are all passionate in different directions and have their own lives to live and tend to, and they're massively busy professions, and the content that this track put out was so engaging, so fun and entertaining, and educational at the same time, that I felt like it was just a natural thing to offer my efforts to help affect that.
So for me, I will have to give you a little bit of my personal lore.
Oh boy,
So
lore drop.
yeah. So the first time that I ever went to DragonCon, I actually didn't pay much attention to the science track. I don't even really I don't remember what I did the first time I went to DragonCon because that is a swirling morass of emotional memory that like my God, what's even happening here? But so a couple of years after I first started attending, it was a friend of mine that got me into it. So a friend of mine, her name is Yin Yin. She is a microbiologist and she lives in or you at that time, years ago, she lived in Atlanta. And so she actually got invited to speak on the science track at DragonCon on a microbio panel. I hadn't even gone to DragonCon that year, but she and I were talking about her experience, and she was like, "Yeah, it was really unique. I didn't even know they did stuff like that at DragonCon or at conventions or anything, and the people were really interested, and it was a lot of fun." So I have a background, a formal academic background in science communication. At the time, I was a brand new PhD student in a science communication program. And so I asked her, hey, do you think it worked? Like, do you think that it did anything? And she goes, oh, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know either. And I don't know that the field knows that something like this even happens. Can you put me in touch with them? And them being Stephen, the director at the time. And the rest is kind of history. So I approached Stephen, like Yin Yin introduced me. And it was like, hey, I would love to be a part of something like this. And I have an academic interest in it too. And so yeah, that's what pulled me in. I wanted to be a part of something like that.
I love that you took the academic interest of like, hey, did we test if this works? What's the change here? The
Like
change, the
exact
pre-post change.
that was my dissertation, literally at DragonCon. Yeah. It
That's incredible.
it got me my PhD. Like
That's so cool. That's hilarious. I very much appreciate the background of like, oh no, but we want to know if it really works. Um, I'm actually curious, how did DragonCon in general start having a science track? Because I think that I've been to a lot of conventions at this point, and there are lots of shows that bring in science. Sometimes San Diego Comic-Con will do, the science behind Spider-Man or whatever, and they'll bring in some researchers, but I've not seen a convention as dedicated to thinking about science and science communication and also just making it really fun and tied in a way. I just don't see that other cons. Like how did DragonCon start doing this?
I can answer a little bit of that because in talking with Stephen, the previous director, about it over the years, a lot of it really came down to personal interest of someone who was interested in running such a thing and a open admin board, with DragonCon being fan owned and whatnot. It was, especially I think in the past, not so difficult to go and be like, hey, I want to run this thing. Will you let me run this thing? So other cons do it on at a much smaller scale. Another one that tends to have a lot of science for exactly the same reason. An interested person decided to do all of the like legwork of doing it. Balticon. in Baltimore, which is a relatively small science fiction convention. They also have like a dedicated track of science stuff just because people there wanted to do that. And I think that that's a lot of where it came from for DragonCon as well. You had people that said, I am willing to get scientists and communicators, and I'm willing to make it a band of content.
I mean, I think that's so cool. And of course, as a former, I don't know, I guess I still work in research. But like as a former graduate student, I always was really excited to have these kinds of opportunities. But I'm curious, how do you make sure that you can have a whole track's worth of material that is going to be interesting and engaging and fun to an audience that is like maybe really into sci-fi but hasn't thought as much about the science aspects, or even sometimes are there for like the fantasy and horror genres? I guess I'm asking how you think about your programming. Like how do you build that structure out?
Well, so I love collecting data, and I love empowering larger groups of people to figure out problems that I suppose some mythical creature like the former director used to be able to just put together an amazing set of expansive content seemingly effortlessly. I started doing a few years ago, suggesting to do a track room. So we have our regular track room where most of our panels are held. To start doing a QR code form that we could put in our track room. So anybody who was like, I would like to see this, could submit that. And it could at least be a seed to potentially grow into something that we could build into a full panel in the future. And that has really enabled us to do some expansive work with just considering all sorts of different options. So this year, I think we started with around 130 different ideas that we thought had at least some legs to turn into a panel. And of course you can't do that many panels, so you have to down select. So unfortunately, some really great ideas get left out, and other ideas that aren't fully fleshed out yet and could use some more detail behind them, they get left out, but they can hang around for future years to potentially be brought back up. But that has really been very helpful for ensuring that we aren't just having one person who really likes mechanical engineering. Like I have a mechanical engineering degree, so I love to know how stuff works, but you can't have 45 panels of just how machinery makes things into flat or round objects. So it's really leveraging many different perspectives and ensuring that we aren't limiting ourselves in that way. And our content just seems to have attracted really great people, and then those really great people have attracted other really great people over the years, and we have snowballed into an amazing community that has a lot of very passionate people, and they create some of the coolest stuff every year, and are always and most of them are willing and able to figure out how to come back every single year to contribute more, and it's just a really great community.
I do love that it truly feels like a community. Like, besides there being a Discord where people are just talking about teeth, there is also this sense of like, oh, this is my one time a year that I get to see, my friend Jessica, and we'll catch up and I'll hear about how the science fair went. Like, it does feel very communal in a way that not all cons have that opportunity, I would say. I am curious about the work that goes into actually organizing this. Like, what are the hardest and the easiest aspects for you when pulling together the track, whether that's programming or people, or man, I guess you don't have to worry about the hotel reservations, but like it's a lot.
Panelist selection.
Yes.
Panelist selection. Like, oh, the top 5 are all panelist selection. So we are spoiled for choice, but we are also spoiled for choice. So, like Matt said, we have over 100, and I mean well over 100. We're at what, 160 or 70?
Yeah, I think that's where we're right now.
Yeah, possible speakers and presenters. Of course, not everyone attends every year.
You have
but
to figure out if they're attending.
I'm sorry.
Figure out with if they're attending
Yeah,
what
exactly. Yeah,
rooms
first
it.
we have to figure out if they're attending, and then we have to figure out what to do with them. That volume of people, even when we run 40 or 50 hours worth of content, it is so hard to accommodate that many people and then juggling people's expertise, their desires, like what they want to do when they want to do it. It is a logistical nightmare.
I do kind of feel like planning a convention. Just I've like started to like do some more research and talking to people. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like planning a wedding, but like where you have multiple brides somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, 150 of them, right? Like,
So what's changed over the years for the science track? Like how does it look different now than it did, I guess maybe a decade ago?
I don't know. I mean, we came in around the same time, Vaughn, but you may have a little more context or reflection on this. I came in, I believe it was right near the beginning of Stephen's tenure, and it has been pretty consistent as far as I could tell from my vantage point. But perhaps if you were digging in, Vaughn, with more of your research mindset, maybe you were able to glean some other differences.
size, I think, really is the biggest difference.
Hmm.
That has some cascading effects in and of itself, but really it is that we just have more. Uh, a decade ago, we didn't necessarily have 170 people. We still had a lot, but every year it's more and more. And so that enables us to do more broader content. I think that with more people, we have been able to do a much more, if not even spread, a bigger spread of pure science topics versus science and pop culture topics versus speculative, fun, science adjacent topics, and then things like science education or communication. Whereas before, we didn't necessarily have the people to do all of those things. So our content used to lean a little more heavily, I think, into the pure science and the science and pop culture with a little less of the speculative and a little less of the like again science ed or communication. Our room has also quadrupled in size. And even though it feels too small, it used to be much, 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 much smaller. And so that's great. That's a good benefit to getting bigger, is that we did actually physically get bigger.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. People might not realize this, but if we have a panel in the Hilton Crystal Ballroom, which is one of our usual ballrooms that will be awarded, there are not very many seats, very many more seats in Hilton Crystal Ballroom than in our track room. I think it's something around 280 versus 220.
We got 220 in the room, and with the way that they lay out ballrooms, like there's lots and lots of empty space. So
So we're very lucky in that regard. Right? We have quite the large main track room, but it also is it gets very difficult to manage those lines. Right, so we have very little space, and a couple of years ago, we requested a separate room, an overflow room, just for managing our lines, our overflow lines. When people are lined up, sometimes 3 hours before a panel that they really want to get into, and last year, for instance, just to illustrate the poll we have, last year we did the year in science for the first time on a Thursday. So we're starting to do Thursday content now. And we turned away, it was something like 350 people at a Hilton Crystal Ballroom, and seated another 300 over the course of letting one in, one out. So, people want to come to our content, and it's such a great validation that we're doing a good job, and also a panic-inducing thing sometimes when you have to figure out where do you put all these bodies in line, and how do you manage that?
Especially when the fire marshal is like, there is a limit to the number of
Uh,
bodies you are allowed to pack into this room.
yeah. So the first 5 issues might be panel selection, but the remaining 5 issues are dealing with lines. So yeah.
I mean, I think that the additional overflow room has been really helpful, at least when I've seen people that are like, oh no, we can be out of the hallways and we're not wrapping around through, yeah, which is a
That
mess.
changed everything. It really did. Like before, when we had to split our line
Yeah.
across that central hub of despair, like it was terrible. Like I got yelled at so many times. Like,
And no one on the science track wants to volunteer to be the line manager and be like, great, my job is to stand here and yell at people like, no, you have to clear the way. People got to come through. Like, that
so,
sucks.
so that overflow room, that's the best thing that ever happened to us.
I will say that our volunteers are all very enthusiastic about doing everything that they need to, anything that they need to, in order to help facilitate the experience of our guests and to help their fellow volunteers and help their fellow track members. We have such a great group of volunteers, and they are down for whatever they need to do to help out. We schedule people for a certain number of hours that we're required to schedule them for, and most people will show up for additional. They'll just show up to the room and say, "Hey, do you need any help right now?" It's a really great community that we've got.
I must sorry, like I must say that like our panelists and whatnot will do that too.
Yes,
But like it
yes,
is not at all uncommon to have our speakers come and be like, what can I do? But like, do you need me to wrangle a line? Do you need X, Y, and Z? So we are beyond fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. No, I think it's fun that a lot of it seems like the volunteers are like, yeah, this is my shift, but I want to stick around because this is an exciting panel anyway. So like, I'll be a mic runner. It's fine.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, this is what you get from a convention that I one of the main reasons why I love DragonCon is because there's very little corporate or commercial presence. I I it's probably the primary reason why I love DragonCon, because it then allows for all these other uh, 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 carry forward habits, I'll say, where you've got people who are there because they are loving what they're there for. And they're not there because they're getting paid to do it. They're not there because, well, they've got to, they've got to do this as an obligation. They're there because they really want to be there talking about what they're doing, and they really want to be there putting on a fun event for everybody around them and participating in a fun event for everybody around them. And that, I just think, really creates an awesome environment. My first convention that I went to was PAX East about 15 years ago, and it is one of the most corporate and commercial conventions I've ever been to, and a cosplay connection that I made there really encouraged me to come down and try out DragonCon. She was from Virginia, and she's like, "You've got to go to DragonCon. There's so many amazing cosplayers. Like, some of the world's best cosplayers attend. And I don't mean like the biggest names. I mean some of the best costume creators and best cosplayers who are there for the love of the art are there at DragonCon every year. And it's absolutely amazing." And she was 100% right. And when I first went, I only went for the weekend, and I was so angry with myself because I had to wait a whole year to experience more of the DragonCon experience. And I have come every single day, arriving early for most of those years ever since, because it is just they don't joke around about it being home for no reason.
I completely agree. And, I'll do a whole episode on cosplay later, but I think it's so funny. The first time that I ever attended, my husband and I showed up on Thursday night, and we were in the hotel where the Bunny Hutch social competition happens. And we just see all these people. We're like, it's Duolingo, but Playboy Bunny. It's Star Trek, but Playboy Bunny. My husband just looks at me. He's like, is this the mating of the nerds? Is that what you've brought me here for? And I was like, apparently, yeah, I'm here for it. I love it. This is so clever. I did want to ask, okay, I did want to circle back on to, you mentioned you did research and your PhD to prove that the science communication works. Can you say a little bit about how you conducted the studies and what you found? Because I'm so curious.
Sure. Yeah. So to go along with the like a thing about it not being corporate, one of the other things is that a place like DragonCon was open to me doing research at the con. And like I had approached other cons and they were not, the corporate ones especially. But so I did two different sets of studies at DragonCon. I have a background also in psychometrics, so in creating tools to measure attitudes, opinions, emotions, in implicit things from people. So I did an initial study, not only at DragonCon for this one, but others as well. That's how I know about Balticon for example, a qualitative study talking to audience members and to science communicators, whether that be a scientist, a science journalist, whatnot, at these cons, and just being like, hey, why are you here? What did you experience here? Was it like you thought? And what came out of that was a lot of ideas around identity. Audience members would say things like, I'm not a math person. I can't understand math. But when someone stood up there and did the like physics of, I think it was the Knights of Sidonia, like, and did all of these equations up there, it's like, it's not like I suddenly understood all the numbers. But when someone explained it to me, like in a context that I could understand, I was like, oh, I kind of get this. On the flip side, the communicators would often say a lot of things like, oh, I didn't know that the public could be like this. I didn't know that anyone would care about what I did as a scientist. I didn't know that they would be interested in me just as a scientist. I didn't know really like that. I didn't expect a sense of community with like, hey, we're all nerds together was actually like one of the big quotes from the thing. And so that led into my more major work that formed what I did in my dissertation. Out of that, I developed a measure of science identity to be used in unusual informal science education environments like a convention to see like, hey, can we measure a shift in people's science identities out of these kinds of events? I am at UF, the University of Florida, and so at the time I was working for the UF Biodiversity Institute, and they had made an animated movie called Tree Tender that was about the tree of life from a biodiversity perspective, like the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. And they had screened it at some museums, things like that, but they didn't know what else to do with it. And I was like, hey, you want to go and have an audience of potentially 100,000 people? They were like, yeah, we do. So I brought researchers from the UF Biodiversity Institute who had a hand in making this movie. We did a panel. We did a few of them actually, like on the science track where like they did our usual panel thing where they talked about biodiversity. We screened the movie. And like it was in those events where I did a pre-post test with the measure that I had made about being able to shift people's sense of science identity. The good news is that my measure did measure things. and it did so. Like I was able to provide adequate validity evidence that it was measuring what I thought it was within this environment. And yeah, there were some detectable changes in participants' senses of science identity. All that to say that I what that really goes to show is that a place like a con where you are not necessarily going to see anything about science. It's not a science museum. It's not a school. But then when you encounter it as part of your like more day to day, as part of a leisure activity, I think that that really can shift people's relationship to the idea of science and also to scientists, because a big part of it was this, like, hey, do you think that scientists are people like you? And after seeing, chemists stand up dressed like Mayor McCheese to give a talk, like, yeah, it did. Like it does something to people that I think that a museum can't do.
Yeah. No, I think I've had this conversation with some science journalists before about like are we in it because we want to teach people about science, or are we like, so do we only publish in science magazines, or do you try to publish science stories in totally unusual places that you wouldn't expect it, because that's getting an audience who doesn't think they're a science person or a math person, but like brings them in and kind of provides this humanities. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense to me. I bet there's also long-term effects of like repeated exposure, but I don't want to run
I
that study. That sounds like a pain
I
in the
don't want to
butt.
run that study. Like I need a lot more money to run that particular study. Like,
Well, I also wanted to ask what you are both most excited about for this year. Is it something about the lineup, something about some new topics that people have shown interest in last year through the QR code that we're hoping to integrate? Like, give us a preview if you can.
Well, for me, something that we started a few years ago, I think this is our third year doing it, has been really successful, and it's gone by a couple different names, but sometimes science is gross. We have one of our really awesome contributors who has really taken that, proposed it from the beginning, and then really taken it and ran with it. And we have been attracting some amazing audiences for that. We run it in the track room uh, as our last panel of the day, and we say, "Hey, if you want to be here, however long you want to be here, we are going to keep presenting to you." And we have gone 2, 3 hours for each one of those. And the vast majority of the population is still in the room late into the night. Even last year, where the fire alarm went off in the Hilton, and people didn't even want to get up and leave. And that was the only reason why we left last year. It has been a really, really great time each year. It is not for the faint of heart.
it is gross. It is like it's not joking around.
It
Like
really is
it
not.
is really disgusting. Like and the fact that people, I mean, they eat it up. Like they can't get enough, and it is horrendous.
Yep. And it is, the people who are there for it are there for it. And that's the takeaway, I think. But that's been very successful, and it's really cool that we're able to provide some content for that population, which might not have really many opportunities at all to get that sort of stuff at the con.
I love that example also because I just want to chime in and say it's hilarious because there are also like late night dance parties that are themed like, no, go into the gross one.
You could choose to do anything, and what you do is you look at decomposition for 3 hours. I'd agree with that though, but like and not only just that idea, but I think that one of the coolest things that we have been able to do are those kinds of serial repeating content that in a good way I think people like expect now. And like our year in science is a like always happens. We now have Science is Gross that's happened a lot. Um, Science versus movies, probably our biggest single event. You know, people line up in the hundreds for hours for that thing. And like that's us. Like that, like we did that. Like we have built content that is so meaningful to people that I think that while I'm sure we're not the only reason, people will come to DragonCon to see our things.
Mm.
And that's incredible. Like, so I'm so glad that we have the staying power and that we produce content that makes people want to come back to those things year after year.
And a few other of our flagship panels that we're really proud of. Well, at least two other ones that have been flagships for a while. The science fair. We used to call that the hands-on science power hour, and I think that it sort of people weren't really sure of what that was in the schedule and maybe scrolled past it. It used to be located in the end hallway of the Hilton. Now we've been having it in the Marriott right after the parade on Saturday, and we call it the science fair. And last year we estimated around 2,000 people walk through the science fair, and that has just been a great success. And we have a lot of interested people this year. I think we're going to have about 8 tables this year, including some well, I'm not going to spoil too much, but there are some things that I have to ask DragonCon if it's okay that we do.
Always a good sign when you got to push it just a little bit.
Yeah. And then Solve for X is another panel that's been around for a long time, over a decade. And it's a science variety show that has slowly morphed in the last couple of years to match the nerd night kind of structure of content. And so whereas Solve for X in its original form might be phasing out, it's renewing itself as a nerd night, which is has been a lot of fun. It was really good last year, and we're having that again this year. And then surprise blowout success from last year was our Monsterotica panel.
Yeah.
We had people from DragonCon, sort of actual high up people who were, I think they're probably career people at DragonCon, filter all the way down through the leadership to let us know just how amazing that panel was. And so we knew we needed to do it again. And so we will be doing that again this year. And it'll be the D&D edition this year.
Oh
You
no,
can never go wrong with monster lovers.
And again, the people who are there for it are there for it.
are they're bodily.
Oh yes, I'm bringing my DM, and I already know that's the panel that she's going to be the first one in line for. So that's going to go great. No worries.
If our next dragon isn't anatomically correct, I'm leaving this table.
Line up well in advance.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this one. I'm so excited. Well, I know that I had a lot of questions, but we somehow got through pretty much all of the big ones. I did want to ask if there's anything I didn't ask about when it comes to planning or running DragonCon, or how it's different that we haven't already talked about.
Well, Vaughn, I wonder what drives you into wanting to be in leadership of a track or leadership of any volunteer organization, because I have personally I always just feel pulled into organizing volunteering communities. I started leading a Rocky Horror Picture Show, Shadowcast, up at my in Western Mass where I live about a decade ago. And 2 years ago, I led us to incorporate as a 501c3 nonprofit public charity. I'm on the board, I'm the treasurer, I'm the producer, I'm the technical director. I manage all the merchandising, and I do enough oversight to really just identify as a general business manager. I do so much organizing that I don't even act on stage anymore, which is what I first joined it to do. And for me, it might be because I'm just such like an orderly. I have a very orderly nature, and volunteering communities tend to have people more on the like, we want to get together and enjoy ourselves and see what happens size side of things, which makes me want to bring order to that chaos. Um, so it becomes a strong passion for me, but then there's this core of stress over the juxtaposition of that. And so like, it's almost like it's a compulsion to manifest and realize that order that I see as being necessary. And I think I see that in a lot of leaders that like burnout is high amongst the leaders in volunteering communities. And again, like I said before, like where everybody has a day job and lives to tend to and relationships to tend to, and it certainly can put strain on relationships and make all that other stuff more challenging. Um, but man, when you see a community really just kind of bubbling, active and alive, and know that if there wasn't anybody trying to orchestrate that, it might not have happened. It's pretty rewarding, but it's hard to make that balance. And so Vaughn, I wonder what draws you to it as well.
It's a lot of the same because you're right. This is not all sunshine and rainbows at all. Even with a absolutely phenomenal, accommodating group of people, it is grueling work to organize such a large, important thing. Um, even more so, like I am so deeply introverted, like to the nth degree. So like being around 100,000 of my closest friends makes me want to shrivel into a ball and die. But it's still worth it. And what does it for me, I'm much like you. I love bringing some order to chaos. And I don't even think that I'm like necessarily the best person to do that. Just it is a thing that drives me. And I got into the field that I did because I cared. Because like I started my life as a bench scientist and I hated the bench, which you're not allowed to do. But I really liked talking about science and what have you. And so it became a thing where it's like, oh, this is important. Like it is meaningful that science be talked about. So I mean that is a core part of who I am. Like that's a big part of my belief system just in general. So that helps make the difficult parts worth it. And then also like to give a corny academic answer, like I didn't want to be a helicopter researcher. I didn't want to approach the idea of communicating science to the public without being a part of that thing and just sitting there and being like, well, the theory of planned behavior says that you should have done blah, 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 which is only useful to other academics. Like, if this is what I care about, then one of the things that I could do, can do, should do is bring the stuff that I did gain from my academic study and be like, hey, let's do something with this. Am I the best communicator in the world? No, I'm not. Do I have all the answers? No, I don't. But I know a little something. And if I can use that to make an event like this better, if I can make it work in any way, then I'll have done something actually meaningful with the science that I care about. That's worth a lot of like screaming in my head when I get crushed by a sea of bodies in the DragonCon hallways.
as someone is blaring the K-pop Demon Hunter as golden or something.
Oh.
I think it's really interesting. I've seen a lot of discussion about this in general, not even talking about conventions, about like third spaces and how Americans don't have a lot of third spaces left anymore. We don't have a lot of, members of elk clubs or Rotary clubs. There's not bowling leagues like there used to be. But I do feel like some conventions do kind of fill this like third space of like you're in a community. A lot of people have put a lot of work into it, whether it's organizing a track, being a panelist on one of the tracks, or even just like making the cosplay and showing up to be social with others. That I think makes them really special. And I think for me makes DragonCon extra special because I do always feel like I'm like, oh, these are my friends. They just don't know it yet.
It's very authentic, right? Like DragonCon has a lot of authenticity in it, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you even said it earlier, Sadie, right? Like it's like, oh, I get to see my friends. That's cool. Even like anything about all the stuff we're talking about, kind of aside, yeah, like we've also created a space where you can go see your friends. And that is a worthwhile thing to have done.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Matt and Vaughn. I'll include links to the official DragonCon website in the episode description in case you'd like to join me in Atlanta this year. I can't give away too much, but we have some excellent panels planned. Additionally, I'll link the Rocky Horror Picture Show Shadowcast for any Massachusetts locals to check out and enjoy. Lastly, Geekscape is coming to San Diego Comic-Con. Specifically, I'll be hosting a panel titled The Boys vs. Supernatural. I'm pitting the SPN family against boys fans from Geekscape Network to see which show deserves to be crowned as Kripke's best. The panel will be on Friday, July 24th at 9 p.m. in room 29AB. So, if you're attending San Diego Comic-Con this year, swing by and say hello. Now for the show's credits. Music was composed and performed by Chris Scott. Cover art was designed by Liz Hand. In Defense of Fandom is a part of the Geekscape Podcast Network. If you like the show, giving us a review on Apple Podcasts is a great way to help support this work and help even more listeners discover us. Your support is deeply appreciated.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.